Well, I don't know about y'all, but this countdown certainly put me in the Christmas spirit. I have to give a special thank you to Tom Roth. He is the brains behind our AV, of all of our technology. Both he and Courtney Hayes, they always get such big true thank yous from me. Y'all know that Courtney was handling everything by herself last month, and I'm happy to say the band is back together. We're back. Our team is back. Well, I guess I can't even say that because I'm not there. I'm actually calling in from Germany. We're over here on a family vacation. But you know what? Aging well comes first. So we're 6 hours ahead here. So if I look a little weary, I apologize. But you know what? I could not miss aging well because y'all are one of the best parts of my month. So anyway, greetings, or I should say Guten Tag. I'm horrible at this. My husband speaks fluent German, so I'm kind of lazy and let him do it. But we want to thank you so much for being here. We've got a great program for you. And as y'all saw on the promos, the reminders for this, this time of year we may have friends in, we may have family in, or we just may be wanting adventures on our own. And there were so many fun things to do in our area that I just, we made the call. It's like, okay, this month we're not doing cooking because there are too many fun adventures to be had. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get this party started. Melody Burnette is the president of Visit High Point, and she is going to tell us all about the Thomas Dambo. I always want to make sure I get these names correct. The Adventure of a Troll in High Point. So I'm going to turn it over to Melody and we'll learn more.
Thanks, Deb. I appreciate you having me today for your Aging Well audience. I'm happy to tell you about High Point, North Carolina's journey with Thomas Dambo and his Trail of 1,000 Trolls. Thomas Dambo is a well known recycle artist. I think he's up to maybe close to 200 trolls on his Trail of 1,000. And he used to be a rap artist and graffiti artist in his younger year and morphed that creativity into recycled art and then more specifically into woodworking. And his brand is very much rooted in environmental issues and sustainability and just that consciousness of how our impact um, makes on the environment. And so the trolls are a really great way to remind us about our impact and, of course, brings a lot of joy into those that are interested in public art. What we discovered is that our neighboring cities, Raleigh and Charlotte, have already had discussions with Thomas and were already planning their permanent installations. For North Carolina, we did not know these things. So that's how we discovered that was through that phone call and initial meeting. And we learned that our neighbors in Raleigh over at Dix Park were going to be curating 5 trolls there at the park. And our neighbor to the south in Charlotte was going to have one in a new development in a housing community. And so we're like, oh, well, High Point's an hour and a half in both directions. Maybe we can squeeze in a troll during that development time as they're building. Right. And if you think about Thomas and his branding, the purpose of the Thomas Dambo Trolls is to encourage that curiosity, that exploration, getting out into nature and just discovering what is beyond your phone, what is beyond your home, connecting with other humans, connecting with Mother Nature. And there, we then invited Thomas to come and do a site visit. He wanted us to scope out at least 4 locations that were very specific and intentional of what he wanted to bring to his audience. And so we kept all of those locations within the Southwest area. The location that he scoped out, I'm not going to give too much away. I'll save that for the troll hunters. But if you look at your troll map on the Thomas Dambo website, it's easily accessible off of a main artery, but yet it is a wooded area where there is some room for exploration there. There is a trail that we just carved out. It is in the wooded area. And in the next 2 years, our urban greenway will go through that section of town too. So that was very strategic on our part to want to put it there. We wanted to make sure that we were adhering to Thomas's brand and the experience he wanted his troll hunters to have. Plus, we wanted to bring our troll that beacon of light and attention that we wanted to the Southwest as well, because it's more than just the public-private sector. You know, anytime we're talking about the visitor economy, any time that we can get someone to visit our community, you might be talking to a future resident, investor, or developer. So we wanted to get more eyes on that Southwest area. So Thomas fell in love with the area that little Sally is in right now. And that was our first pick too, but we didn't tell him. We didn't give him our rank. And he was touring some of the furniture factories. He was really looking at the area, and he really connected with Pepe at Wise Living. And Wise Living makes hospitality furniture, and Pepe had some spare chair legs and table legs that he had just kind of hanging out in his shop. And Thomas just beelined to those chair legs, and you could just see his wheels were turning already about this troll and the characteristics that this troll will have. And then we told him about our oldest oak tree in High Point that's over 250 years old. We had to take it down at a Goldston Park because it was just old, and it was going to be a hindrance if we didn't take care of it. And so it had been drying out for the last year. And Dorothy over at the Southwest Renewal Foundation wanted to do something impactful with that wood, but she just didn't know what at the time. And then, of course, with this project, we just immediately knew that our troll needed to be curated with this oak tree as well. And then, you know, High Point just has a lot of makers. We have a big Rolodex when it comes to, I know a guy that does this work or can make this donation or can donate that tool. And so quickly, once we were well on our way of curating our troll, the business community, the philanthropic community, the nonprofit community, the city of High Point, we all came together to make her come to life. We listened to Thomas's stories, talked about his genesis and his creative journey, and he was talking about grandmother tree troll in Raleigh. He talked about a scavenger hunt to find grandmother tree troll in Raleigh. He talked about the 5 family members that would comprise of this family over at Dorothea Dix Park. There would be a mother and a father and 3 babies. And next thing I know, he said, "Congratulations, High Point. It's a teenage girl. That's who you're getting in High Point." And she's part of the family too, and she's on an adventure spreading her wings and wanting to see more. And she's landed in High Point. And her brother, Big Pete with Big Feet, is in Charlotte, and he is a teenager as well. And so he said, and I think that we're just going to name this troll Sally, or Little Sally. And the way that he has her posed on the site, you know, she's kind of kneeling. She's about 17 feet high. She'd probably be about 30 or 32 feet high if she was standing straight up. But she's kneeling down, looking really sweetly and really curious, like almost like she's calling to us, kind of like we would call a dog if we wanted the dog to come forward. You know, we would hold our hand out a little bit and like stare down, like, come here, come see me. That's kind of the impression that she's giving as you're visiting her, having that immersive interactive experience between human and art. And so we announced to the community that we were in partnership with the Thomas Dambo team, with the Hayworth Foundation, with Southwest Renewal Foundation. The city of High Point actually had the land that we picked out, and so they gave us an easement to build the trail and curate that site for Little Sally to go. And we put out a call to action for volunteers. I think it lasted all of one day before we filled all slots. But you know, the whole mystique about Little Sally and the trolls is not to have a lot of branding around it, to not really be commercial about it, because there's that air of discovery. And so we're trying to be very mindful of Thomas's brand, and of course, folks discovering more about the Southwest too. So when troll hunters are looking for Little Sally, don't expect to see a sign that says, Little Sally's here or Little Sally's garden or none of that. It is very mysterious. It is a troll hunt. So there's several ways that you can find Little Sally. Number one is the traditional way is to go on the troll map on the Thomas Dambo website. And when you click on the troll map, it might ask you to accept all cookies. But from there is when you will be feeding the clues, and you can really zoom in on that X, and you'll see that there's 5 in Raleigh, 1 in Charlotte. We're right there in the middle, and you'll see where that intersection of where Little Sally is. There's ample parking, so parking's not a problem. I would like to tell you, though, that the trail is natural and raw, and that is what Thomas wanted. He didn't want anything that was paved or graveled. Of course, we're out in nature, so just be mindful that you might need to watch your step. I have seen folks out there with walkers and wheelchairs, and you can manage it. You just need to practice some care with all of that. This is the entranceway to Little Sally. This is her trail. As you can see, we've got some visitors that are already taking advantage of the afternoon. It's around 2:15 on Monday. There's already 12 cars behind us. We have the overflow lot that's starting to fill up. We just talked to someone from Indiana, so that's why Visit High Point's involved. And of course, what we love about public art is that public art belongs to everyone. It's something free that we can do and have that engagement that doesn't cost us anything.
Well, my name is Valerie. I'm here visiting with my husband. We're from Northwest Indiana, and today actually marked our 30th troll from the Thomas Dambo collection. We came down to North Carolina specifically with all the installments. We've recently seen the one in Charlotte, and just left the North Carolina Arboretum and headed over to Raleigh to Dix Park to see the remaining 5 in the state. So Little Sally here in High Point was absolutely precious, beautiful as always. We love seeing the trolls from Thomas Dambo and what he represents as an artist and a recycle artist specifically, and she was absolutely beautiful, and I think it's great for the city.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just seeing how many people here right on a Monday. It's like, I know, I was surprised. So cool.
She just mentioned it, saw one.
Just woke up from a nap. Cool. Did Levi show you the little coolest sleigh? Yeah. You should. Let's do that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Oh, wow. That would be really cool to see next time we go visit Michael and Amy. Okay, I'll let you go.
I also like to mention, if you zoom in on her necklace, there's a symbol that helps you solve a puzzle to find Grandmother Tree Troll.
I just love her. Now it makes me want to go see the others now. So cute. Gwen, I'm ready when you are. Wherever you're at.
please watch your step. There's a root right behind you.
I just don't know why you pushed. I didn't know you were a different person.
I think it's earrings. Or is that his hair hanging on the ears? That's his hair.
Yeah, that's the hair coming from behind here.
What's the, oh, the rope's his necklace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was so fun seeing so many people of various ages and physical abilities that were giggling and laughing, and just she brought out such a sense of joy to those around. I mean, I think it's kind of funny that her name is Little Sally because, as you could see, she's anything but little. But I guess relative in the troll world, she's Little Sally. But I know we have friends joining us that are that live away from Winston-Salem, but I show this to encourage you to check out and see if there's any trolls in your area, because I bet there are. He's very busy putting these installations all over. So please check this out. And again, as always, I'll be sending out the information with the follow-up and this video. But do check and see, because she was really darling. And especially seeing the woman from Indiana, she and her husband had come down just for the troll installation. So anyway, y'all had to see it. You just had to meet her. And we're going to go on for one more adventure. Now, this one's in Cary. And William Lewis is going to tell us about it. He's the cultural director for the city of Cary, and he's going to tell us about the Chinese Lantern Festival. And it was just spectacular. And I'm going to share some of that with you now, and he's going to tell you all about the history.
Well, thank you, Deb, for having me, and I appreciate being part of Aging Well. My name is William Lewis. I'm the Cultural Arts Manager with the town of Cary, and you are here with us at our 10th annual North Carolina Chinese Lantern Festival. This is presented by a group called Tianyu Arts and Culture, based in China with offices in the United States. And when we started 10 years ago, there were only about maybe a handful of these events in the United States, and so they were coming to look where could they have one in North Carolina, and they fell in love with our venue, which is called Kokobuth Amphitheater here in Cary. It's about 14 acres, and you can kind of catch from behind me, you see that we have a really interesting landscape. It has some great views. We have woods, we have a lake, we have a stage, we have a deck, we have restrooms and concessions, so everything that they needed to really put together a creative program. So they fell in love with us, we fell in love with them, and our relationship has continued for this decade, and it only continues to grow every year. And so what you're seeing behind me and what you'll see in some of the footage ahead are lots and lots of different displays that are all individually handcrafted lanterns. And so there may be tens of thousands of lanterns and lights on this facility, but there's really 40 major displays that are large in scale that people that change every year. And we also change the performances every year. We change menu items, and so there's lots of ways that you can come back year after year and feel that this is a fresh experience for you. So you can see the gates are open. We're open now until January 11th, and we're open every night except for Christmas. And so we take a one day off, but 58 days in a row this venue is open and operating. So it's from 6 to 10 p.m. But we do have a twilight tour for those who want to catch it a little bit earlier with smaller crowds. You know, it's not as dark, but you can still see some. This is a great example of that moment. So we do have twilight tours for anyone who wants to catch the early bird. And then again, open 6 to 10 p.m. Kind of some notes if you like smaller crowds, and you can still come a little bit later in the evening and skip some of those crowds. You can also come earlier in the week and skip some of those crowds, but certainly around major holidays and towards that opening time frame of 6 o'clock, it gets really busy. We had over 250,000 people come to this event last year, and we anticipate it being similar this year. It's just something that people really enjoy. They talk about, and they come back. They bring their family, they bring their friends. Our event happens over 3 major holidays: Thanksgiving and Christmas and of course New Year's. And so a lot of people are visiting, and you're indoors, it's chilly, you're wondering like, what can we do to get outdoors? This is it. It'll take you about 75 minutes to 90 minutes to see the whole thing. We have all of the pathways are accessible, and so it's really easy getting around, but you certainly want to take your time just because what you're seeing is so extraordinary. You want to take it all in. But we do have drinks, we have food, we have benches, we have places to perch. We have anything you could want in terms of an amenity for your whole group, your whole family. People of all ages and abilities have enjoyed this program, so we do invite you to come see us. We do have a special night for anyone with sensory issues. Then we have a sensory night where we lower the volume, and we also cut off any blinking lights and strobes and things like that. So it's a really great night to come if those are things that might overwhelm you. We do have also designated quiet spaces and things like that. So for anyone who might like that type of experience, that's December 2nd. And so otherwise, we're open every night, and we have so much great stuff to share. This is a North Carolina tradition that is not like no other, and people come from all 100 counties throughout our state to come see us here. We have a variety of ticket prices, and we do have senior discounts, we have group discounts, and so definitely coordinate with Deb. This is something that she can help do with you. And also it's really important for you to go to our website. It's boothamphitheater.com. That's where you start, that's where all the information is, and that's really where you need to stay for purchasing your tickets. Don't go any other website. Boothamphitheater.com. eTix is our ticket retailer, so don't go anywhere else. But I would certainly coordinate through Deb, and this is something that we can do for groups as well as individuals, and there's discounts abound. So the North Carolina Chinese Lantern Festival is produced by Tianu Arts and Culture, and this is an organization in China with headquarters in the United States that we partner with to put this together. But these are lanterns that are made in China by people that have been doing this for generations. This is something that has existed in Chinese culture for thousands of years, and a lot of the people who fashion these lanterns here have learned from the best masters there. So we work with Tianyu to coordinate and to choose. It really takes about 10 months out of the year that we're planning with them for what we would like to see in our space, what we've already done, and what we would like to do that's new. And so then once we decide together what we would like this festival to look like, then their artisans get busy.
Well, I feel like, I don't know if y'all were like this when you were kids, but remember if there was ever a glitch on the TV, there would be a little cartoon that would come on and go, don't know what's happening, but anyway, you know what? We're going to move on because it's almost at the top of the hour. But what I wanted to share with y'all is the reason that he was stressing to stay on the legitimate website that I will send you the link for is because there are people out there doing counterfeit tickets that when you're going to pay a lot more and when you show up, they're actually not good at the door. So we just want to make sure that if you do want to go or when you do want to go, you get legitimate authorized tickets from the official reseller. So anyway, but it was so fun. And again, there's a lot more video that y'all didn't get to see, but that's okay because you have a teaser for what's out there. And I'm just showing you such a tiny portion of what is over there. I mean, he was right. You can easily spend an hour and a half just going around and looking because the detail of the painting on that silk is just extraordinary. So, but we want to be out. We want to have these adventures and play. I mean, it doesn't matter how old we are. We all want to play and have fun. And so, well, how are we going to keep ourselves healthy? Well, that's who we have tonight. Going to be talking with us is Dr. Laura Moore. She's a geriatrician at Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist, and she is going to be sharing with us what we all can do to keep ourselves healthy and safe and ready to play and enjoy the winter. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Moore, and there she comes. So you come on up, and what we'll do is I'm turning the time over to you, and just feel free to tell us what we can do so we can stay healthy and play.
Yes, let me bring up my PowerPoint slide here. Can you guys see it?
We can, thank you.
Awesome. So, as Deb said, I work here at Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist. I'm primarily a clinical geriatrician, and I serve many roles in the hospital, but I won't bore you with all of that. Let's get right to the presentation. So I'm going to talk kind of about thriving during the winter months. The winter is hard, and it's a hard time for many people due to the colder weather, the stress of the holidays. It just makes people want to isolate. I hope after this presentation, you will be motivated to fight that urge and get out there and be active this winter. So I'm going to start out with one. There are some, for one, this season does come with a much talked about disorder, a seasonal affective disorder. There's a winter type, which is most common, but there also is surprisingly a summer type, much less common. The summertime is much brighter and nicer. It does involve seasonal patterns of depressive episodes, most often associated with bipolar disorder or major depressive disorder. So can happen where you kind of get, somebody who is experiencing generalized depression can have worsening of depression in the winter months. It's characterized by depressed mood, irritability, increased sleepiness, negativity, and hopelessness, but it does tend to follow a seasonal pattern. The treatment is primarily light therapy, counseling, and antidepressants, along with some lifestyle modifications, including some strategies that I'm actually going to discuss in the PowerPoint, but wanted to kind of start off with this. Depression is actually also something that can start to show its face in the winter months as well. So, but it doesn't necessarily follow that seasonal pattern. So it is, feelings of low mood, loss of interest in things you were previously interested in, increased sleepiness, irritability. These can all indicate depression. It is important to discuss these concerns with your primary care provider so that depression can be treated. The treatment is essentially the same, but really includes counseling and antidepressant medications. But let's get to what you can actually do for some seasonal troubles. So basically, and this actually applies all year around, but for this presentation, these are principles that I discuss with all of my patients all of the time. They really help to mitigate the decline of cognitive function. I'll go into each with more detail, but time and time again, research into brain health has continued to support these 6 items. They are also very helpful for preventing depression and seasonal affective disorder, as I mentioned. So physical activity, we've all heard it our whole lives, the importance of staying healthy and fit and active. The reason is because a healthy body does lead to a healthy mind. For people over the age of 65, at least 150 minutes of moderate activity like brisk walking or 75 minutes of vigorous activity weekly is recommended. In addition to strength training, all of the major muscle groups and balance exercises like yoga, Tai Chi, those are also recommended. The main risk factor for osteoarthritis is age. This, among other comorbidities, can cause limitations in mobility, which can affect our ability to be as physically active as we want to be. But the best preventative strategy for osteoarthritis and fracture risk is to build up the muscles and bones through weight-bearing exercise. The best treatment for osteoarthritis is to continue to be physically active. Physical therapists can be a very helpful part of our team to provide suggestions in this situation. Most insurances will cover several sessions of physical therapy. If you feel like they could help in any way, please engage them in your treatment plan. I also recommend that my patients ask specific questions when they get physical therapy so that they really get what they want out of the session. It's not just let's go through the motions, ask, what should I be doing? What is going to make me build muscle? Those kind of questions. There are also activities that do result in much less impact to the joints that can still help almost anyone continue to stay physically active, such as water aerobics, chair yoga, Tai Chi, as previously mentioned, and the use of resistance bands. There are many resources on the internet for these activities, but make sure you're going to a credible source, something, associated with a medical center or a university, not just any Joe Schmo offering advice. So the next thing that can really help with brain health is social activity. Social activity keeps your brain active and healthy. There are many ways to socialize, including making new friends, keeping in touch with and talking to people that you already know and care about, like friends, family, former coworkers, colleagues, students, neighbors, anyone. Religious and community groups can be a great source of social involvement. Every social situation challenges your brain. You have to get there. You have to involve yourself in a conversation. These are all surprisingly challenging. Something else that I mentioned in the first slide is stress reduction. Stress reduction is very important. You may have heard people say during your life that stress kills. This is because stress is in fact bad for your brain. I'll never forget seeing a patient when I was in medical school who had quite a devastating stroke at only the age of 35. I was discussing this patient with my attending later on in the day, and we both agreed really it must have been due to the immense amount of stress they were under, and it's really truly terrible what it does. But that's just one example. Chronic stress results in increased cortisol release, leading to shrinkage of the hippocampal region of the brain, which is involved in memory. The prefrontal cortex, which is involved in decision making. It causes enlargement of the amygdala, which is the fight or flight center. Additionally, good neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine become depleted, which leads to an impact on mood and focus and memory. Stress actually impacts every organ of the body that we know of. The brain is just one that I discussed, but the heart is impacted. New research is showing how the gut microbiome is impacted by stressful situations. If that's not enough to motivate you to reduce stress in your life, I don't know what is. Thankfully, there are so many ways to reduce stress. The ones listed in this slide are only some of them, but there are many more ways. Basically, anything that makes you feel better should reduce stress. This should be a really great part of your day. Don't rely on phones and computers for this. These phone games I see people playing, they're only momentary gratification, and they don't actually help the brain. Getting out into nature can be very refreshing for many people. Like, for example, the two slide shows that we just saw, going to find the trolls in various areas. I mean, that's really a neat part of our area. That's really cool. My husband and I brought our son, at that time 1.5-year-old son, to the light show last year. It really is. It lives up to the what they were saying. It's amazing. You can do as much or as little with very little pressure. It's just a really cool environment. So getting back out there in nature, it's wonderful. Even though it's cold, just bundle up. If you don't have a practice that you already like doing, start simple. Take a 10-minute break, walk away. Bonus points for taking a walk. This incorporates physical activity. I understand that, people do also have physical limitations such as hearing and vision that can result in decreased ability to participate in things that used to bring them stress reduction. There are always ways to work on this and try something new. I really recommend trying to problem solve with family and friends and even healthcare providers. They should be working with you. Ask them questions. Really, some of the problem solving can be great for your brain too. So, I also recommend challenging your brain. This is very important to continue to keep your brain active. Even if it feels like it takes longer to learn new things, it's so important to continue to try, especially if you have started to notice the beginning stages of memory loss. Now's the time. Now is really the time to start challenging your brain. There are so many ways to challenge your brain. I always recommend doing something that you like doing. This will increase the likelihood that you will continue to do it. Make sure it's something you love. No matter what you're doing or what you like doing, there's always ways to challenge and learn and grow. Bonus points if you do this, whatever activity it is, with other people. This incorporates two things: challenging your brain and being social. Joining groups of people that enjoy the same things can lead to learning new things or being able to teach others what you know. Sharing the joy. When I say this should be something that you like doing, I say that because these practices should become a new part of your routine, not only something that you do to thrive in the winter. And then that's in that way, it'll be more likely to be continued because it's something that you're already passionate about. Now, the next thing is eating well. There are a million different opinions on what to eat, how to eat it, when to eat it, etc. Research just continues to show a balanced diet is the most important thing. Agonizing over it can help, but can tend to get people more stressed out and anxious. So really continue a balanced diet. Plenty of fruits and vegetables. This adds nutrients and fiber. Some other general but important points to mention are avoiding highly processed foods, foods that are very easy to prepare, like microwave dinners. These are just foods that only kids can really get away with eating without gaining weight or having health issues. As we age, they're just not good for us. Avoid adding salt to food, pick low sodium options, avoid excess saturated fats and sugars. Don't eat before bed. Moderating portion size can be important if you're trying to lose weight. Also, limiting alcohol intake, that'll help your body and your diet overall. This can also play into another pillar of brain health that I discussed: challenging your brain. Learn new healthy recipes. Challenge yourself to look at food labels and learn what they really mean. If your ability to cook is limited by mobility or other reasons, you can buy several separate pre-cooked items and combine them, such as chicken, brown rice, vegetables. That's just an example, but that will always be worlds healthier than any prepared movie or meal that we see in the freezer section. The next really, truly important component to brain health is sleep. Sleep is so important and restorative to the brain. There are many sleeping patterns. I won't go into all of them, but the most important thing is that you feel refreshed after a night's sleep. Several over-the-counter and prescription medications can interfere with sleep and cause insomnia, including steroids, some blood pressure medications, decongestants, supplements, and definitely Benadryl. Even if something makes you feel sleepy, like say Benadryl, promethazine, benzodiazepines like Xanax, these things interfere with your sleep. They interfere with the sleep architecture, they increase the risk of falls, and should definitely be avoided. Part of my job in geriatrics is to see patients in the trauma ICU. They often end up there due to falls. I see so many people that fell because they got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and fell. And a lot of them, I won't say all of them, a lot of them are on very high risk medications like the ones I mentioned. Talk about having trouble sleeping, spend a few nights in the trauma ICU, and there will definitely be trouble sleeping. It is important to develop a regular daily routine, going to bed around the same time each night, limiting daytime napping. Also, backlit screens, they are terrible for your brain when it's trying to sleep. They decrease the natural secretion of melatonin and should definitely be avoided. All cell phones and computers, they have night mode, which can reduce the backlighting on the phone. But overall, still, cell phones and computers, even television before bed, can be very stimulating. And this definitely impacts your normal relaxation cycle. Bonus points, though, if you are using some stress reduction techniques before bed, just shutting off turning things off, taking a break from technology, and really just trying to, do deep breathing or, some sort of relaxation. The most common disorder of sleep I see is sleep apnea. Symptoms include waking up in the middle of the night short of breath, coughing, feeling unrefreshed after a full night's sleep, can cause high blood pressure, can cause morning headaches. Oftentimes there's snoring, so that can be something to recognize sleep apnea. If you have these symptoms, definitely discuss them with your primary care provider to see if you qualify for a sleep study. It is important to limit things that could interfere with sleep before bed, such as alcohol, as it interrupts the sleep architecture. And it's a diuretic as well, which increases the urinary frequency, making it more likely that you'll be up all night peeing. And that's definitely not good either. Similarly, drinking lots of fluid before bed can lead to interrupted sleep due to having to get up multiple times, increasing the risk of falls. The next thing, it's not necessarily one of the pillars of brain health, but I really do think that it plays into feeling better and staying, active in your community. Community involvement goes hand in hand, though, with those pillars that I discussed. Staying socially active, challenging your brain. There's so many opportunities, that some of which Deb has brought up in the AgingWell conferences, but the most important part of choosing really is to make sure you find something that you want to do. This will help you stick with it. There are also, just throwing it out there, some clinical research opportunities here at Wake Forest in the geriatric medicine department. I put that phone number at the bottom of the screen. That is kind of just the general number to get connected with somebody who you can just ask questions about the studies to. And there's just a lot of really cool stuff going on. So I hope that I've been able to show you how easy it is to incorporate these healthy brain routines into your day-to-day life. Also, how easy it is to do all 6 of these things in tandem. I talked about ways to combine them. It's also important to keep up with preventative care, especially in the winter. Ask your healthcare provider these questions. They should be able to answer and should want to be able to help you become more involved and overcome limitations. The last thing I want to bring up is immunizations. The winter is a great time to prioritize yourself and protect yourself from common diseases through immunization. For diseases, a lot of these that I'll mention, actually 5 out of 6 of these on the slide are pneumonia, and we all know pneumonia is more common in the wintertime. I recommend to my patients getting immunized around the middle of October so that immunity lasts into March, but it's not too late. If you need to catch up, now is a great time. The first one, pneumococcal pneumonia, that vaccine protects against the most common type of bacterial pneumonia, which is, and it's generally just giving overall general recommendations. It's recommended to have that updated after the age of 65 once. Influenza, it's much more common in the winter, especially in what we call kind of group living situations or congregate living environments, such as assisted living, long-term care facilities, skilled rehab. The influenza virus changes each year, so it is important to update that vaccine yearly. Similar to influenza, we've got the COVID-19 virus. Yep, it's still around. Also, it changes every year, and infections are much more common in the winter. People are still getting sick and ending up in the hospital. I am recommending a new vaccination every year to my patients. And yeah, the RSV vaccine or the respiratory syncytial virus, it primarily impacts children and people over the age of 65 with severe illness. Within the last 5 years or so, I can't put my finger on exactly when, this vaccine was licensed for people over the age of 65. I recommend getting it once, as it is a one and done after the age of 65 and protects from a pretty brutal virus. Especially if you know you're going to be around kids. They have lots of germs, and the holidays bring families together. So togetherness can cause definitely a risk for infection. So the tetanus vaccine is another one. It has protection against tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis, which is whooping cough. It's recommended to update Tdap or tetanus vaccine every 10 years. Most of the time, I tell my patients if they don't remember the last time they've had it, it's probably been more than 10 years. Just go ahead and update it. The shingles vaccine is the only non-pneumonia one up here. It protects against the varicella zoster virus, which is the most common cause, or which is the only cause of shingles. If you had the shingles vaccine more than 10 years ago, called Zostavax, that's the 1-part series. The immunity could have possibly been decreased already. The newer 2-part series called Shingrix significantly boosts your immune response and lasts much longer. So I highly recommend updating that if you've only had the 1 part. If you have any questions about any of these things, either your local pharmacist or your primary care provider, they should be the ones to ask. Well, thank you, and I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, I thank you so much, Dr. Moore. And yes, we've already had some questions coming in. I like to do jigsaw puzzles. Does this count as challenging my brain?
Absolutely, yes. I think people sometimes think that if it's something they've done for years, that it's not challenging anymore, or that, they should learn something new. And while learning something new is a good thing, you can always do what you already love doing in a way that would challenge your brain. So do a puzzle with more pieces, do one with different colors, stretch your comfort zone. Do them with friends. Ask a friend over to do a puzzle. It's the possibilities are really pretty endless when it comes to that. So definitely.
And also, what we've talked about before is reading a book is more stimulating than watching TV. I just sometimes find, sometimes you just need to melt down and watch something on TV, but it's one of those things that reading a good book is such a wonderful escape. So
Absolutely.
I would also throw that out as something.
Yeah, it lets your mind wander and your
Mhm.
imagination grow. So
Yep.
definitely.
I have heard on the internet that a keto diet is healthy. Is this something you would recommend?
It kind of it does tend to fall into those trendy or hip kind of diets that tend to fluctuate year to year. One thing or the other tends to come and go. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, although they have shown that not sticking with it can lead to some rebound health issues on sort of the back end. But really, the overall theme is truly just a balanced diet, sticking with that, eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, and like I said, avoiding the processed foods, high sodium, high carbohydrate kind of foods.
And one person has raised their hand to ask a question. And if I can just ask you to please, to the person who's raised their hand, if you could put it in the chat or the Q&A, that's the only way that we can address the questions here with the format of this webinar. So please put your question in the chat or the Q&A. Let's see. How much time per day should I spend on stress reduction activities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, it really kind of depends on what your practice is. So some people don't really have anything that they stop and do during the day that really like lets their mind take a break. I would say for those people, start small. Like I said, 10-minute break, 5-minute break, just, like the suggestion, like I said, take a walk, sit in a quiet space, really, or do anything that you feel will just give you that moment and that time to kind of reflect and think of something peaceful and just especially if you're starting to feel frustrated with what you're doing or your surroundings. I think it's very important. But I don't know that there's necessarily a prescribed amount of time, but I think as long as you're incorporating something every day into your day, I think that's really what matters. And like I said, it should be the best part of your day. It should be
Yep.
something you look forward to.
And, again, when you're talking about incorporating healthy practices, I can't tell you how many times I've been at the grocery store or at church, and you see somebody driving around for 20 minutes looking for that closest parking space. And if you have physical limitations, that's certainly understandable. That's why there's the handicap parking. But if you're just looking to get the closest spot, I've asked people, I said, make a promise to me that you're going to park on the opposite end of the row. So that's such a simple, easy way to just incorporate a little more activity just by parking at the furthest spot as opposed to the closest spot.
Yes, definitely. Little
So,
ways.
yep. Well, this has been amazing. I'm going to take so much of your advice to heart. We're over here right now where it's very, very cold, and we are playing, we are wrapping ourselves up where, I mean, it's literally just our eyes showing and have on the gloves and the mittens, and it's so fun. You can absolutely have a great time, have adventures, and be just having fun. I guess it comes back to that. No matter how old we are, we should never be too old to say we want to have a good time. And, these practices that you've given us, thank you so much for sharing with us. And I just want to encourage everybody to continue living well so we can all age well. And I can see you back here next month when I'm back in Winston-Salem, which, by the way, I've heard the weather in Winston-Salem is probably even as cold as it is here right now. So
A little
all of
chilly.
this is so timely. But until then, January 13th is our next date. So please, please, please make a plan to be here. And until then, be safe, be healthy, and age well.